students, welcome to another video from Education Center, and today I am going to be teaching you about atoms and molecules, how atoms affect our world. Just for your information, this is a science video, so that if you are struggling in this topic, I recommend you to watch this video. Before we start, please make sure to like and subscribe for more awesome content from Education Center. Our lesson plan today is going to be identifying the basic parts of an atom, including protons, neutrons, and electrons. We're going to be identifying and describing the basic parts of an atom based on atomic models. And finally, we're going to be understanding the concept of a chemical bond and how it forms between atoms and to create a molecule. Let's talk about a little bit of matter. Matter is anything that has mass and then takes up space, and it can exist in 3 different states: solid, liquid, and gas. Now, you might have heard of some other kinds of states of matter like plasma, but we're going to talk about these 3 mains for this lesson. So first up, we have solids. Solids have a definite shape, volume, high density, and are incompressible, rigid, and have low diffusivity. A liquid has a definite volume, an indefinite shape, a high density, and are incompressible, which basically means you cannot press them. And finally, we have gas. Gases have widely spaced particles that move rapidly, have a low density, and are highly compressible. Atomic theory. Atomic theory is a scientific concept that explains the nature of matter and its behavior. Several theories try to explore the structure of atoms and their interactions with other atoms and molecules. Atomic theory has evolved over centuries with the contributions of many scientists. So we have 4 different models that we're going to explore: atomism, solid sphere model of the atom, plum pudding model of the atom, and finally the nuclear model. So let's have the first atomic theory, which was invented in 5th century BC or the 400s BC. So this is a theory that was first proposed by the ancient Greek philosopher Democritus. According to the atomism, all matter is made up of tiny invisible particles called atoms, which are in constant motion and are too small to be seen with the naked eye. So this model basically explains that atoms are just tiny little particles, which we know today is not what we identify. Our next atomic theory is a long time after. In the 1800s, 1803, we had the solid sphere model. John Dalton's solid sphere model of the atom proposes this model as an attempt to describe the structure of the atom. According to this atoms are tiny, indestructible spheres with no internal structure. So our new things that we're building up on from the 5th century BC ideas that now we know that they're indestructible. Let's go on to our third atomic theory, which was proposed in the 1900s. In 1904, the plum pudding model was theorized. J.J. Thomson proposed that the atom is composed of a positively charged sphere with negatively charged electrons distributed throughout it. The negatively charged electrons were embedded in a positively charged pudding of matter, which made up most of the atom's mass. You can think of it as raisins in an oatmeal raisin cereal. So this is J.J. Thomson's plum pudding model of the atom, and these blue dots you see here are the electrons. Finally, we have our last atomic theory, which is number 4, and is the one we still use today. It was proposed in 1911, which was 7 or 8 years later. It was the nuclear model. Ernest Rutherford proposed that most of the mass of the atom is concentrated in a tiny positively charged nucleus at the center, which is the big blue dot you see here, with negatively charged electrons orbiting around it. This model became the basis for our understanding of atomic structure today. So, this is Ernest Rutherford's nuclear model of the atom. And a quick fun fact, Rutherford is actually an element in the periodic table. Or maybe that's not the exact name, but it was inspired, but one of the elements were inspired by Ernest Rutherford in the periodic table. So now we're going to go on to atoms and its structure. An atom is the basic unit of matter and the smallest particle of an element that retains its properties. Atoms are made up of 3 types of subatomic particles: protons, neutrons, and electrons. So these are the small subatomic building blocks that we need to make an atom. So first we have protons. Protons are positively charged particles located in the nucleus, or the center of the atom. Next we have the neutron. Neutrons are neutrally charged particles also located in the center. And finally we have the electron. Electrons are negatively charged particles that orbit around the nucleus. And I might have not talked about neutrons in the atomic model, but Ernest Rutherford's student discovered the neutron. Let's go on to another example of atoms and their structures. The nucleus of an atom is about 10,000, actually not 10,000, 100,000 times smaller than the overall size of the atom. In perspective, if you can even imagine how big that is, if we imagine an atom is the size of a stadium, I know it sounds bizarre, the nucleus would be smaller than a grain of sand. So just imagine if atoms are that small by themselves, imagine how small a nucleus would be. I know, none of these atom pictures that you see when you search on Google, none of them are up to scale. Trust me, these stats are real. Molecules and its structures is what we're going to be moving on to. Molecules are groups of 2 or more atoms that are held together by chemical bonds. They are the basic building blocks of many things around us, like water, air, and even our bodies. So, this is atoms, just single particles by themselves. And this is molecules. Molecules are atoms, 2 or more atoms joined together to make another substance. So, molecules are formed when atoms join together to share their electrons. When this happens, they become more stable and create different types of substances with different properties. Let's look at this example. 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom can join together to form a molecule of water, which is H2O, which you've probably already heard about, but this is what it means, which is essential for life. Trust me, you will not live more than 7 days without water. 2 hydrogen atoms plus 1 oxygen atom is basically a simple chemical model to show this. And then we have 1 water molecule right here. These are some common examples of molecules. So 1 oxygen atom plus 1 oxygen atom equals 1 oxygen atom molecule. And I know this sounds a little bizarre, but oxygen molecules are actually breathed in, and normal oxygen atoms cannot be breathed in. You cannot breathe in oxygen atoms. It needs to be an oxygen molecule, which is why oxygen molecules exist. Or chemically, you can write this as O2. Next, we have 1 oxygen atom plus 2 carbon atoms. So the gray thing is our oxygen atom, and then these 2 red circles are our carbon atoms. And this is carbon dioxide molecule. You might have heard this causes global warming and lots of other problems like climate change. So you probably heard of this. And guess what? That is how carbon dioxide is formed. Let's wrap up our lesson for today. Atomic theory is a scientific concept that explains the nature of matter and its behavior. Several theories try to explore the structure of atoms. These include Democritus's atomism, John Dalton's solid sphere model, J.J. Thomson's plum pudding model, and Ernest Rutherford's nuclear model. An atom is the basic unit of matter and the smallest particle of an element. Atoms are made of these three types of subatomic particles: protons, neutrons, and electrons. And finally, molecules are groups of two or more atoms that are held together by chemical bonds. Here is a guide to common molecules. I know I did not list out the names, but you can imagine. So, I'll tell you. One carbon molecule and one oxygen molecule makes carbon monoxide. One carbon molecule and two oxygen atoms make carbon dioxide. One carbon atom and four oxygen atoms, I think, make methane. Two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom make water. Two oxygen atoms make oxygen molecule, and three oxygen atoms make ozone, which is contained in our atmosphere. Woohoo, Science Whiz! Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more awesome content from Education Center, and I'm really happy you spent your time with me today. Being out.